If you're a parent or share a fridge with someone, Instacart is about to make grocery shopping so much easier. Because with family carts, you can share a cart with your partner and each add the items you want. Since between the two of you, odds are you'll both remember everything you need. And this way, you'll never have to eat milkless cereal again. So minimize the stress of the weekly shop with family carts. Download the Instacart app and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Plus, enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 orders. Service fees apply. For 3 orders in 14 days, excludes restaurants.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to True Crime All the Time Unsolved. This is Gibby, and with me, as always, is my co-host, the one and only Mike Ferguson.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 88 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson, funny man Gibby. What's going on?
What's happening, man?
You know, a little of this, a little of that.
A little of this, a little of that. Makes a lot of something.
Makes a lot of something.
Yeah.
Little TCAT, a little TCAT Unsolved. We got a lot going on this weekend.
It's been a busy week.
It has been a busy week. For those of you that do not listen to True Crime All the Time or have not heard this week's episode.
Right.
I let everybody know that, I got displaced at work this week.
I know it, man. We have to send
or
the chair.
laid off. I've had a number of people ask me what the hell displaced means.
He's sending the one chair back.
I'm sending Gibby's chair back because now I can't afford it.
So, you know.
No, but that, a little bit of a gut punch, right? A lot of people go through that, but when it happens, it's a little bit of a...
Takes you back, I think.
It takes you back a little bit, and then you start to think, okay, what am I going to do now? I'm a little bit different than most people that got displaced at the company because I do have this side gig.
Yeah.
So, you and I are talking about what can we do?
Right.
We've been talking about this for 2 years.
Yeah.
What else can we do with podcasts, different types of podcasts? Well, I may just have the time to do it now.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and you're talking about me doing, I don't think I'll do it. But I know that YouTube video stuff that you wanted, you had these outfits you wanted me to wear, these little skits you wanted me to do.
It's just the YMCA Village People
But
outfits.
You already bought the whole setup. I mean, you got the bright lights, the screens, the green screen. I don't know what you're going to put in there with me.
You can change them up. You can be the cop one time, and then you can be the construction worker.
I'll do it. What the heck? Why not? If it helps you out.
All right, Gibbs. Let's give our shout outs. Let's talk about something positive, our Patreon shout outs. We had Steph Bennett.
Hey, Steph.
Cody Hilton.
From I keep saying it, from the Hilton fame hotels.
Big money.
Big money.
Emily Garton.
Hey, Emily.
Cami Hanna. Which I love that. I don't know if that is a first name. I don't know if that's a...
Cammy?
Made up Patreon. Some people just make up names for Patreon. It's a beautiful name, though.
Yeah, Cammy
that
Hanna.
I've never heard.
Thanks, Cammy Hanna.
Lee Alexander.
Hey, Lee.
Crystal Kitchener. Shay DiPastino. DiPastino. I did it for you.
It's DiPastino.
I just knew you were going to do it, so I wanted to jump out. Since you tried to jump out and do the introduction.
It's all right. It's okay.
We had Candace Cologne.
Hey, la Cologne.
Lacey Rosser.
Ooh, Lacey.
That's a cool name, too.
I like that.
Daniel Deans.
Hey, la Daniel Dean.
Elizabeth. York Morgan, 42.
So you're 42 years old. We got it. Now, how long have you had that sign in, though? Huh?
So my PlayStation sign in.
Yeah.
Because I'm a video game nerd guy.
Big time.
It is like 8 years ago.
Okay.
So just take my age and minus like...
Still got that sign?
That's the number that I used.
All right.
Susanna Moore.
Hey, Susanna.
Josephine Bernhardston. You're close. You added a T in there.
She knows why.
Savannah Brooks.
Hey, Savannah. That's nice. Savannah. Love that name. Mm-hmm. And then Brooks.
I love that city, too.
Sounds like a nice little bubbling brook running in the back of the deck.
Yeah. Now, this is spelled different than the city, but have you spent time down in Savannah?
A long time ago.
I love it. And I love that movie.
Which movie?
Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Oh, yeah.
I love that movie. I love the...
Who's in that?
John Cusack?
Yes.
Do you know I know who's in it? If I say the movie...
I'm just testing you.
I know who's in it.
Yeah, that was good.
But I like that. I like the city of Savannah. And I've been down there in person.
Was that what your other favorite movie is? Hope Floats? Was that down in Savannah?
I hate that movie with a passion. Michelle Kellums.
Hey, Michelle.
Kyle. Michelle LaBombard.
Sounds like those really healthy nutrition bars.
Yeah, aren't those like Labrada or... I know which ones you're talking about, but I can't think of the name.
Yeah. That's what it made me think of.
Kim Litfin.
Hey, Kim Litfin.
Steph.
Just Steph.
We had Renee Kale.
Oh, the healthy Renee.
You think she's very healthy because her last name's Kale. Lindsay Henn.
Hey, Lindsay.
Laura Olenizak.
Hey, Laura. I'm not going to try to say your name.
And again, I know I'm not getting this right because I'm making some things silent because I can't figure out.
She's loving it, man.
If I don't make them silent, I just don't know how to say it.
Rosinowick.
First of all, you started with an R this time, and then you ended it with a Witz.
Yeah.
You said like Rabinowitz or something. Razinowitz.
Just leave it in. Let it fly.
I know I'm wrong, but you're not even close.
We're C.
Jenny Stafford.
Hey, Jenny.
Watch out. You'll be closer than I was. Kim Bookout.
Hey, Kim.
And then if we go back into the vault, Gibbs, this week we selected Buffy Brown.
Hey, Buffy.
Longtime Patreon supporter, and we appreciate that. We appreciate all the new support and the people that continue to support what we do. It means a lot.
I do.
We had some great PayPal support as well.
Okay.
We had Grace Brunei.
Ooh, Brunei.
I'm not sure I'm saying that correctly, but I like that.
Brunei.
I like that pronunciation.
Yeah.
Craig Feuderer. Lucas Edmonds.
Hey, Lucas.
Kim Gall.
Hey, Kim.
And Jennifer Winkler.
Oh, thanks, Jennifer.
So big shout out to our PayPal folks as well. We appreciate that.
Love that.
All right. At the time that this episode is out, don't forget, there is a really good episode on True Crime All the Time.
Really good.
We're doing a Black Widow episode on Betty Lou Beats.
Makes you think about getting married.
It does make Gibby think about getting married. But I will say this woman had an extremely tough life, rough childhood, a rough life all the way up until, much later in life.
Yeah, she did.
But at some point, and she was married a bunch of times, but at a certain point, she started murdering her husbands. And that's how you get called a Black Widow.
Yeah.
Then she got her kids involved. It became a whole...
Spiderweb?
Oh, that's a good one.
I don't say much.
I know. That's the best one you've had in a very long time. So check that out if you haven't listened to it already.
Since I said that, I'm done for the rest of the podcast.
Gibby's not going to say.
Enjoy the witty Michael Ferguson.
All right, let's talk about Unsolved.
Let's do it.
We are talking about the unsolved murder of Tammy Zywicki.
Yes.
So Tammy was born March 13th, 1971.
Around your time.
A little before my time.
Close to your time.
A couple years before my time.
All right.
But she was born to Hank and Joanne Zywicki in Pleasant Hill, Pennsylvania. She would have 3 brothers, Todd, Dean, and Darren. So we're going back 26 years ago, Gibbs, to 1992. Tammy Zywicki was 21 years old, living in New Jersey, but she was a senior at Grinnell College in Iowa, where she was studying art and history. Tammy was a huge animal lover, and her friends would say about her that she loved James Dean, much like yourself, Gibbs.
He was a pretty cool guy.
I know you love James Dean, not as much as you love Cool Hand Luke.
I love Cool Hand
Paul
Luke.
Newman.
Man. Paul Newman. I like Marlon Brando too.
You like James Dean, Marlon Brando.
Yeah, I like that era.
Yeah.
Those guys were cool, man.
There was a sense of coolness about those guys.
Yeah, exactly.
But her friends nicknamed her Z. And they called her this because apparently she took a lot of power naps.
She was tired, man.
She's a power napper.
Probably had CFS.
What's that?
That's, what do they call that?
You're going to use an acronym and then not know what it is.
I know what it is. I just had a mental block. Fatigue syndrome.
Oh, chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yeah, chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yeah, that makes
I don't know
sense.
why I forgot that, but I did.
You were so tired that you forgot what's
so tired that I forgot.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have that.
Yeah, absolutely. Ours.
So what's a power nap to you? Because I don't take naps, ever.
So
2 hours, an hour, 30 minutes?
Well, there's some people I know that they think a power nap is like 3 hours. So
I'm thinking 30 minutes to an hour.
I think if I could get between 30 minutes to an hour, because if I go longer than that, it's not a power nap anymore. Now, if I wake up, I'm too tired.
What is it, a siesta? If you go too long, it's just a siesta?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think if there is something in my makeup that I just can't sleep during the day. I literally cannot lay on a couch like on a Sunday.
I've been in your office and you're laid out on top of your desk with a pillow.
That's totally different. You know.
Maybe that's why.
Maybe that's why I got laid off. Because I was power napping.
Maybe they frown on that.
Oh, thanks a lot, Bin Laden.
Yeah.
So on the 23rd of August, 1992, that afternoon, Tammy and her brother Darren were headed back to their colleges. So they were in New Jersey, leaving to go back to their respective colleges. And Tammy wanted to leave early because she was scheduled to take some preseason photographs of sports teams at Grinnell for the assistant sports information director, a guy named Andy Hamilton.
So, I mean, she's got talent, clearly. Yeah. I mean, she's an art student, as I was when I went to the University of Picasso.
The University of Picasso.
In Tampa, Florida.
Oh.
So, wait, who's the artist well known in Tampa? He's got his own museum there. It's not Picasso, is it? It's the other guy.
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Oh, there's a famous artist that was from his
Do
museum.
I look like a guy that visits a lot of art galleries and museums?
No, you do.
I do not.
No. So, okay. Well, let's just move past that.
But once again, you're talking about something that you know something about, but you're never going to be able to remember it.
No. Just enough.
Just enough to pique people's interest so that they will send me an email that says, this is what Gibby's talking about.
Yeah.
And also, why didn't you look it up on Google?
Yeah.
But that's not our style.
That's not what we do.
We either can remember it or we can't.
Yeah.
And we stick with that.
I'm picturing the guy smoking the cigar right now. I just can't remember his name.
And you have both fingers up like you're smoking
like
a
I'm
cigar.
smoking my cigar.
All right, so we got off track there a little bit. Now, on her way to Grinnell, Tammy dropped her brother Darren off at his college, Northwestern University, in Evanston, Illinois, before heading on her way to Iowa. Darren would later say that Tammy's car overheated a number of times on this trip from New Jersey.
That's always the worst, man. You ever had a car that overheated?
No.
Really?
No.
Pull over.
I don't think I've ever kept a car long enough because I'm not a car guy. I don't know how to fix cars.
Yeah.
Well, today, who knows how to fix anything?
So you never had to piss into a radiator?
No.
Okay.
No, I never did that. I watched you do it several times, but...
always be careful.
I've never done.
That's all I'm going to say. The engine's very hot. Be careful. Take your time. Know what you're doing.
No, I just don't think I've ever had a car long enough to... Once I think things are going to start to go bad...
You trade it in?
I trade that bad boy in.
Yeah.
I've always been like that.
Yeah. That's why you got a new vehicle every 6 months?
No, not that often.
Okay.
4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah.
Now, Tammy was last seen by some witnesses on the side of the road on Interstate 80 near LaSalle, Illinois, at mile marker 83. And this was between 3 and 4 p.m. on August 23rd, 1992. And apparently, Gibbs, she was standing by her car, and what witnesses saw was that behind her car was a semi-truck tractor trailer.
All right, so you got the big rig that pulled over, you know, like a lot of them do. I see them all the time. They pull over and want to help the
stranded motorist.
Yeah.
That's what you would think, right? As a witness, seeing that.
Yeah, many times I'm driving. If I wasn't in the fast lane and I could get over in time, I would pull over and help a lot of people. But I'm in the fast lane and I can't get over, and I feel bad.
I would not.
Really?
Even if I was in the slow lane. And I'll tell you why. Because of what we talk about week in, week out.
I carry a
Killers.
K-bar. I got a K-bar at the ready.
I'm not putting myself in that position. I feel bad.
Pull a gun out, pull my K-bar out. Like Wonder Woman uses her bracelets, I use my K-bar and bullets ricochet off.
Oh my gosh, you are delusional.
So
now these witnesses would say that what they saw was a white male, about 6 foot tall, between 35 to 45 years old, dark, bushy hair.
I had you convinced until I heard the bushy hair part.
You thought it was me?
Yeah, you know.
I do not have bushy hair. Maybe in the very back, at the very bottom, it gets a little bushy from time to time.
Stop dreaming.
But this guy's hair was collar length, and it appeared to them that he was offering help to Tammy Zywicki.
Yeah.
They described the semi-truck as white with 2 brown diagonal stripes down the side, which is, to me, somewhat of a strange description of a semi.
Yeah.
So it's obviously it's not a semi carrying cargo for like a big, well-known company that would want to put their brand on the side.
So probably independent driver.
You would think, or a trucking company that doesn't need to put they don't have a logo, maybe.
Well, I think all company has a logo. Maybe their logo itself is just that strong.
Well, I guess what I'm saying, it's not a McDonald's.
Right.
It's not a Walmart. It's not
recognizable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a brand that you would recognize from the side of the truck.
Yeah, exactly.
If 2 diagonal stripes was whatever this company's brand was, it's not something you would know.
Clearly, because no one got it
right
for that. Yeah, yeah. I think it was probably an independent, like you're leading around to.
And somebody just decided, hey, I want to put 2 brown diagonal stripes on the side of my truck.
Yeah, I want it to look cool, so I went with brown. Don't know why brown, but you know.
Now, Tammy's mom never received a call from her daughter saying that she had arrived at school.
So I imagine back then didn't have cell phones. I don't think he had cell phones back. Well, you had cell phones, maybe, but
92,
maybe some bag phones.
Well, that was early, yeah.
So I don't think everybody would have them. So I would think the mom would be like, "Hey, after you drop your brother off, he'll call and let me know, and then I want you to call me when you get there, so I know you made it."
Yeah, they definitely weren't widespread, I don't think, in 92. There were people that had them, but mostly, I would think the rich, and they were the bag phones or the brick phones, or some people had car phones, but
otherwise you're dialing up on a payphone somewhere.
Yeah, I'm almost certain in 1992 a senior in college would not have had a cell phone.
No.
Because I don't think I had one.
So I think when she got to school, she was going to call her mom and say, "Hey, Mom, I made it." And mom never got that call.
And her mom would have been expecting it. I'm thinking about my own daughter who's getting ready to go to college.
Yeah, we were just talking about that at dinner tonight. Yeah.
Now, we have cell phones. We're still probably not going to hear from her as much as we want to.
Right.
But I can tell you damn sure if she's making the trip from here to wherever she decides to go, at the end of that trip, there better be a phone call.
Well.
Or else I'm getting in the truck.
And headed that direction.
And I'm heading that direction because I'm freaked out. So I imagine this is exactly what happened in this scenario. Because like you said, no cell phones, you're really expecting a call.
Oh, you are.
Because that's not a short trip, right? New Jersey to Iowa.
Right.
I mean, that's somewhat of a trek.
Yeah, especially knowing that her car tends to break down.
Yeah, good point. You add that on top of it. Tammy's mother, no doubtedly, was waiting by the phone probably around a certain time that she expected, time frame, that she expected her daughter to get to school. But that call never came. And her mom got nervous and eventually called the police to report Tammy missing. It was just the next day. Tammy's 1985 white Pontiac T1000 was found abandoned along westbound Interstate 80 near Utica, Illinois. Police had the car towed to a service center, And the State Highway Patrol that found the car, they knew that Tammy's mother had reported her missing. So they opened her locked car, and inside was Tammy's packed bags and some, her other possessions. She would have had a lot of her possessions.
Sure. Going back to college, she would have, yeah.
She's a long way from home. She's not going to be traveling home every weekend like some kids do that live, that go to school half an hour and a half away. But Tammy, her car keys, and her purse were nowhere to be found. But it was just about 9 days later, Gibbs, on September 1st, 1992, a man was walking up Interstate 44 near Sarcoxie, Missouri. Never heard of that. Sarcoxie.
Sarcoxie.
I'm not even sure I'm saying it right.
It's like, hello, Sir Coxie.
Sar. It could be Coxie, but
it could be.
I like Coxie better. And this is in a rural area, Lawrence County, Missouri. It's about 50 miles west of Springfield, Missouri. And this man walking would come across the petite body of a young woman wrapped in a red blanket with a Kenworth truck logo on it. And this blanket was sealed up with duct tape. So this man calls police. Police eventually come out. They open up this blanket, right? Cut through the duct tape. What they find inside is a body that it had experienced a great deal of decomposition. But police figure out that the clothes on the body match the description of what Tammy was reported to have been wearing the day she went missing.
Yeah, but I think to be certain, they end up using the dental records to get a complete, accurate ID of who she was.
Well, I think that tells you, right? That tells you the level of decomposition that had occurred.
Yeah.
When you have to use dental records,
pretty severe.
It's pretty severe.
Yeah. And, they find the body, this is like almost 500 miles from where she was last seen. So she did some traveling. I mean, whoever got her, whatever they did when they did it, they put some miles on before they dumped the body, for sure.
Yeah, because she was last seen in Illinois.
Yeah.
And now we're somewhat close to Springfield, Missouri.
Yeah. So
they do an autopsy, and they figure out during the autopsy that Tammy had been sexually assaulted, and she was stabbed a total of 8 times. But it's the locations of the stab wounds, Gibbs, that are vexing.
Yeah, for sure they're vexing.
You just want to say the word vexing.
I did.
But they really are, because when you take a look or, you read the contents of the autopsy, they talk about 7 of the stab wounds were made in a circle around where Tammy's heart would be.
Right.
And then the 8th one is in her arm.
Yeah, I'm thinking the 8th one was some type of defensive stab wound during the struggle or during the initial stabbing. And then the weirdness of the 7 stabs around the heart and the chest, was that person, trying to get the heart? Was that person trying to cut it in a way that maybe he or she could remove? I don't know. I think it's bizarre, weird.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It could have been, to me, it almost sounds like it's I don't know if symbol's the right word. What would you call it, Gibbs? A signature?
Signature.
A calling card?
Yeah. Could be some type of satanic thing, too. Who knows?
It could be.
Either way, it's just bizarre all the way around to do it that way.
The killer had placed duct tape over her mouth to keep her from screaming. And they determined that her time of death was about a week prior to when her body was found. And Gibbs, Tammy had once wrote in her high school journal that she didn't want to suffer when she died, which is, it's almost heartbreaking thinking about the fact that she did.
Oh.
This was a very brutal murder, and she suffered.
Absolutely. Sexually assaulted first and then murdered the way she was. Definitely brutal.
Lawrence County Sheriff's detective said that Tammy had been killed somewhere else and then dumped at the site where she was found. And some things had been taken from her. They were able to determine that. One was a Canon 35 millimeter camera.
Probably one she was going to use for the taking the photos of the sports teams.
Yep, I would assume it was. A Loris brand wristwatch with a green band.
Yeah, and on the face it had like this green umbrella, and it played Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head.
So it was a music, it played music.
Yeah, it
or
was a musical watch, yeah.
Additionally, there was a St. Giles soccer club patch missing from Tammy's shorts. It had been removed.
So someone ripped it off and decided to keep it, take it with them.
Maybe as a souvenir.
Yeah, or got torn off during the struggle and
sure.
It was it was laying somewhere.
It could have been. I lean towards the souvenir, but you're right.
Sure.
News of Tammy's death reached her college. And, the folks there, some of them gathered at the chapel for a prayer session. And her family was at the college as well. And they joined. And Tammy's family said, we hope some good will come out of this. Number one, they hope that the person responsible for Tammy's murder would be captured. But they said, we don't want this person to be able to kill again.
No, they don't want anybody else to go through what they just went through.
So I think it's...
What a nightmare.
It is, and I think it's two things, right? They want to know who did this to their daughter. They want that person to pay, but at the same time, they're thinking about other people. They don't want this person out there victimizing other young girls or anybody in the way that they did their daughter. Tammy's funeral was held on September 8th at St. John Newman Roman Catholic Church in Mount Laurel. And it's reported that close to 100 people showed up to her funeral. Some of the statements given at the service were that she was always bubbly, very friendly. People talked about her as being the nicest person you could ever meet.
Yeah, and remember, she also loved nature. She loved animals, and they brought that up time and time again.
They said she was fun-loving and spirited. So obviously, this was a great young woman, and a lot of people loved her. Tammy was buried at West Newtown Memorial Cemetery, south of Pittsburgh, very close to the Roman Catholic Church where her parents were married, and not all that far from Pleasant Hill, where she was born. On her tombstone is a picture of Garfield, which apparently was her favorite cartoon character.
So she's resting at home. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
She's home. It's unfortunate.
Near where she was born, near where her parents were married.
Yeah. Tragic, but, just some, I guess if it gives you some type of comfort. And then it's cool, the Garfield. I mean, you can tell that that's that fun-loving part of her, that the parents thought, let's put Garfield on her tombstone. She
was still very young.
Yeah.
And she was an adult, but she was young.
21, that's young.
A task force was launched, which included the FBI. It had a total of about 14 investigators working this case. The investigators would eventually release a description of the man who was spotted helping Tammy out with her car troubles. They came out and they said he was not a suspect, but what they thought was that he could offer them some help, some insight into the investigation.
Well, sure. If he's the last person that saw her, maybe he could clarify some things.
No doubt. You would want to talk to the person that you believe is the last person to have seen the victim alive.
And you wouldn't be a suspect yet, but I mean, let's be real.
Yeah.
The reason they want to talk to you is not only to help out with the obvious, is to see if maybe you are the suspect.
Yeah. They're not going to come out and say you're a suspect, because that greatly diminishes the chance that you're going to walk in and say, hey, I think that's me.
Yeah, that was me parked behind her in that truck out there that has the bloodstained windows.
So it does make a lot of sense that you would couch it as, you know what, we want to talk to this guy. We want to see how he can help us with the investigation. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's very vexing.
You with the vexing. Investigators would also examine about 200 pieces of potential evidence.
Seems like a lot.
It does. I mean, I'm assuming you're talking about a lot of the stuff that was in her car.
I would think so, yeah.
And there was, like I said, probably a lot of things packed inside that car. But you also have the things that were found at the dump site where her body was left. But 200 is a pretty big number.
And you had the body too, so... Yeah.
Probably some tire tracks, I'm sure, from different places, things like that. All right, Gibbs, I think we're ready to take a look at some possible suspects. And as you can probably imagine, there are a few, especially given the fact that Tammy was last seen on an interstate highway, traveled by many truckers.
To the point, I think if any trucker in that general area was accused of or questioned about, any illegal activity, especially if they were accused of kidnapping, murder, anything like that.
Sexual assault.
Yeah, they
probably
were automatically thought as a suspect in Tammy's murder, for sure.
So in 1992, a Tampa truck driver named James Dante Mackey, he was 38 years old. He became a suspect when he was arrested on March 31st of that year. He was arrested in Indiana and charged with attempted rape. Police arrested him outside of the South Lake Mall, just off Interstate 65 in the northwestern part of Indiana. A woman told police that he had attempted to rape her as she was on a payphone. And after his arrest, police found a lot of things in his truck. They found women's underwear. They found a lot of pornography. So I'm sure they were somewhat intrigued.
I think the interest was piqued, for sure.
Like that word. They looked into him, but investigators, they just couldn't find any evidence that linked this guy to the murder of Tammy Zywicki. I mean, for one thing, and this is something you and I have talked about more so on True Crime All the Time, with long-haul truckers, interstate truckers, you've got logs. You have gas receipts.
Right.
You have things that you can take a look at to see where somebody was at a given time. And all of these things placed James Mackey pretty far away, Gibbs, from where Tammy Zywicki was last seen.
Yeah, and I get that. And I think like today, we got a lot of good trucker buddies out there. And they told us that today with technology, it'd be hard to get away with anything like that. But
they pretty much know where you are just about at all times.
But I think in '92, you just had a lot of paper log books, and I think you could fudge the numbers. And I think more of an honor system was going on. So could somebody have different logbook for one thing versus another? Maybe they had two logbooks going on. Maybe they fudged some numbers on the logbook to make it look better. Gas receipts, who knows? But I mean, I think our trucker buddies would be able to jump in on a call and tell us, back in '92 you could or couldn't do something like that. But I think you could have.
Yeah, trucking, I would assume the log's easier probably to fudge than gas receipts, but who knows? Who's to say you didn't get a gas receipt from another trucker?
Exactly.
That you were hanging out with.
Someone threw it away in the trash, you picked it up.
At a truck stop or something like that. We don't know.
Yeah.
I think the bottom line is, based on the evidence they had, they did not believe that James Mackey had anything to do with the murder of Tammy.
Yeah.
I think that's...
Yeah, I think they felt confident.
Whether they were right or not is another question, but that's what they felt. Another one of the top suspects was a man named Lonnie Beerbrot. This guy was another truck driver, but he had a history of violent crime, robbery, and kidnapping. He also did some serious prison time.
20 years.
Yeah, he had an extensive record.
Yeah.
And an anonymous tipster called into police saying that he matched the description of the person that was seen helping Tammy on the interstate.
All right. So white male, bushy hair, 6 foot, 35 to 45. And that his truck matched, what witness saw. So, the truck with the 2 brown stripes. On top of the witness coming forward and saying that he matched the guy and his truck matched the truck and all that good stuff. There was another report from a healthcare worker that she was taking Lonnie's wife's blood pressure, and Lonnie's wife was wearing a wristwatch that matched that of Tammy's. It had the green band, the umbrella face, and it played the same song that hers played.
Raindrops keep falling on my head.
I thought you were going to break out in tune.
No, not on this one. Not on this one.
So, I mean, that's a pretty heavy coincidence.
Well, actually, Gibbs, I thought about it when we were first giving the description of the wristwatch. I thought that's very specific.
Yes.
Like, it's not something I've ever seen.
I've never seen that watch either.
Not that I've seen every watch ever made. It's just not, it's not a Seiko or a Citizen that you're going to see a lot of people wearing, I wouldn't think.
No, I mean, I don't even wear a watch. I know you got your Rolex on, but...
Yeah. Tell people I have a Rolex.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or your Breitling.
Breitling.
Or Breitling. As the English say, the Breitling.
I have the Breitling that you press the button if you go down, if your plane goes down,
yeah,
and they know where to find you.
Oh, so they find so they could retrieve the watch and sell it again because there's nothing left of you.
Right. And if you press it by accident, it costs like $10,000 to reset, or you have to pay $10,000 because they went and looked for you or something like that. Well, obviously, I don't have that. It's a very expensive watch.
I think if you can afford that and you can afford the plane, the 10,000 resets.
You're
no
not
big
too
deal.
worried about it.
Yeah.
But it is. I thought that when we first talked about it. It's a very specific. Specific's probably not the right word. It's a unique description of a watch.
Yeah.
So, which means it's a unique watch to me.
And the chances of two people that tied into the same story, having the same watch.
That type of watch.
Yeah.
Again, if you said it was a Timex that Walmart sold 5 million of a year,
you're like,
you wouldn't bat an eye.
Right, exactly.
But that's not the kind of watch we're talking about.
No, we're not.
I think the other important thing is that Lonnie lived pretty close to where Tammy's body was found.
And I think more so was the fact that he just visited family that lived over by where she was last seen. So he's over where she's last seen, and the body's found over where he lives. That's a pretty good.
Well, and then let's add the topper, which is the red blanket with the Kenworth logo that we know Tammy's body was found wrapped in. It's the same truck that he drove. Now, I don't view that as the same way as the watch, because Kenworth is a very popular
tractor brand. Yeah, for truckers. Yeah,
I don't view that as the same way, but man, that's a lot of things when you start adding them, coincidences or whatever you want to call it. You start adding them all together, it's a lot of them.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to start weaving that together.
And I don't think it's any surprise that Tammy's mother, Joanne, and former Illinois State Police investigator Marty McCarthy, they both considered Lonnie the most promising lead during the investigation. They even went as far, Gibbs, as to get blood and hair samples from him.
Yeah, so that tells you right there that they
were looking at him pretty hard.
Yeah.
The problem is prosecutors, they didn't want to charge him because they just felt there was not enough evidence to take the case against him before a grand jury.
Yeah, and a lot of the investigators, including the family, were really set back by this. They really were upset with the county not wanting to pursue this because they felt like they did have enough to go to the grand jury and that the grand jury would have sent it up to the next level. But for whatever reason, they didn't, and it really left a sour taste with the family and majority of the investigators.
And this is something that you and I have talked about quite a bit. It doesn't take a whole lot to go before a grand jury, and that can be good and bad.
Right.
You can, get somebody indicted. The grand jury can move the case on without a lot of evidence. And that can be a bad thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But for them to say they didn't think they had enough evidence to take it before a grand jury, you don't need a whole lot.
No, I think there was some rumblings about the amount of money the county would have to spend to prosecute this, and if they didn't get the victory, then this small county, how are they going to pay for this trial?
And I'm to be honest with you, I'm not questioning the prosecutors. If they say they didn't have enough evidence, I assume they didn't have enough evidence.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what their standard of evidence that they need to move forward. I think everybody's different, like you said.
Well, I think prosecutors' standards are different, but the standard of the grand jury is, I believe, all you have to do is say it's more likely than not.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines.
This could have happened the way that's described, so we need to investigate.
No, I think it's more like it's more likely than not.
Oh, okay.
Not that it could, because anything could happen.
Right.
It's like 51% chance it happened. I don't think I'm saying that correctly.
I know what you're trying to say.
More likely than not, it happened, as opposed to beyond a reasonable doubt. Right? Those are two very different things.
Yeah.
When you get to trial,
it can get vexing.
It can get vexing. When you get to trial and the burden is beyond a reasonable doubt, it's a much tougher hurdle. But to get something through the grand jury, they just have to think that this probably happened.
Yeah.
More likely than not, this guy did this,
right,
based on what you're saying to us.
Yeah.
The problem with this whole thing, Gibbs, is that Lonnie died in 2002.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're never going to get the chance to take him to trial. The good thing, I would say, is that they have his DNA. I mean, they got hair and blood.
That's true.
You knowing how DNA is working in today's world with catching, and solving some cases because of this new DNA testing.
Yeah, but I get it, but I don't think genetic genealogy would come in here because they already have the guy, or they know.
Oh, they already
who
had. Yeah, I got you. So it's just running the DNA.
Yes.
Through the system.
They already know who the DNA belongs to.
I gotcha.
The genetic genealogy really comes in where you have the DNA.
You just don't know who it belongs to.
You just have no clue who it belongs to
because an identity.
The person's not in the system. But I still agree with you in the fact that having his DNA is important, although it's not like they don't know where he is.
Yeah.
So if they needed it later on,
they could dig him up and get it.
They could get it. So you mentioned another suspect, and it's another trucker by the name of Bruce Mendenhall. And he really became a suspect when investigators started to focus on him after he was convicted in 2007 of the murder of 25-year-old Sarah Holbert. Mendenhall picked up Sarah on the roadside, pulled her into his cab, and hit her in the head with a nightstick, duct taped her mouth and wrists. Then he sexually assaulted her with several objects that he had inside his truck. He raped her. Then he put a gun to her head and pulled the trigger. He killed this girl inside of his truck.
Yeah.
Shot her.
Yeah.
Eventually, he dumped the body at a truck stop. Police reviewed video surveillance from the truck stop, and they saw his truck.
So the police reviewed the surveillance cameras and spotted his truck. And one of the troopers that was reviewing the video footage recognized the truck, knew who the driver was, and they located him and arrested him.
And while Mendenhall was in prison, he confessed to murdering 6 more women. He primarily targeted young sex workers that he picked up in his truck. So Tammy was not his typical victim profile type.
No, because she wasn't a sex worker. She wasn't a drug user. That's what typically he, would prey on.
But even so, even given that, investigators thought that if Bruce Mendenhall had the chance, he would have killed Tammy. And I think Gibbs pulling behind a stranded young woman would have possibly given him that chance. You know, that's what they were thinking.
Sure. Yeah.
Because you just have to look at opportunity, right? Why would somebody target sex workers who frequent truck stops?
Right.
Because there's a lot of opportunity if you're a trucker to find victims.
Yeah.
That, it's not like, that's my assumption. It's not like you would go out of your way to say, I only want to victimize and murder this particular type of person.
Right.
My assumption is he picked sex workers because that's the person that he was most likely to come into contact with, or the woman, I should say.
Sure. I mean, he knew that he could get her in the truck easily.
Yes.
Right? She's going to voluntarily come into the truck.
Tammy.
And if they're on drugs, they might not be as coherent and able to defend themselves,
A woman like Tammy, Bruce Mendenhall's not going to run into her at a truck stop where she's trying to get into his truck on purpose.
No.
It's just not going to happen that way.
This works this way for him if she's helpless, needs his help.
Yes.
And, he plays the role right. And knowing that she was petite, and he was a big guy, he could easily overpower her if he actually did have something to do with it.
But police could never tie him to the murder. They didn't have any evidence that led them to believe that Bruce Mendenhall murdered Tammy. I think you kind of touched on this a little bit, Gibbs, but Tammy's mom, Joanne, came out publicly saying that she was very unhappy with the investigation and the way it was handled early on by the Illinois State Police. She said that police didn't immediately release the description of the truck that they believed to have been involved in Tammy's disappearance. She also said that it took authorities more than 24 hours to enter Tammy's car information into the police's central computer. Joanne's been quoted as saying, as the years go by, it's very irritating. There were so many blunders in our case. They lost the case in the first few days. And we mentioned that task force that was created. Hard to keep that up forever. And they couldn't, right? They had to disband that task force at some point.
Right.
And really what was left after the task force disbanded was, county investigator and an FBI investigator. So it wasn't like there wasn't anyone on the case, but certainly there wasn't a whole task force after a certain period of time. In 2015, the police turned to the Vidocq Society for help. We've talked about Vidocq before, haven't we?
Yeah, I believe we did.
Okay. I can't remember what case it was, but I'm pretty sure we've talked about it.
I'm pretty sure we have too.
It's a society made up of highly experienced investigators.
Very seasoned.
Yeah, very seasoned. A lot of times I think these guys are retired, but they know a lot. They've been through a lot.
Right.
And they still want to help.
Yeah. I think they like to review and then put their 2 cents in.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah.
So, but even though they took a look at it, no new leads developed. But I think the Vidocq Society, Gibbs, a lot of them leaned towards Lonnie Beerbrot as being their most likely suspect.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And of what we've talked about, he's mine too. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Right.
I know there wasn't a smoking gun per se, and maybe we'll talk about when we wrap
But
up.
are you a Vidocq card-carrying member?
I am not.
Well, let me show you my wallet.
In 2017, investigators issued a press release in which they asked the public for help in identifying the driver of that tractor trailer who was spotted assisting Tammy on the side of the road. Investigators hoped that by releasing a description of the man and his truck, it could refresh someone's memory. And I don't think that's a bad strategy at all.
No, I think that's one thing you have, keep working it.
Let it fly. I mean, that is not something that you're releasing that only the killer would know.
Right.
Right. You're just releasing a description of someone that you really want to talk to.
Right.
That you have not yet been able to identify.
I agree.
During the press release, authorities declared that the case is still open and they're actively pursuing new strategies that they hope will lead to a break in the case. And they're quoted as saying, "No one has forgotten Tammy, not her family, not her high school, not her college friends, and certainly not law enforcement." FBI agent Amanda Becker said, "I am very motivated to find her killer. A $50,000 reward has been offered for information leading to the person responsible for Tammy's murder." And this one kind of blew me away, Gibbs. A private citizen offered up $100,000 for information.
Impressive.
Leading to her killer.
Impressive.
So again, you talked about DNA.
They had the duct tape that was used to seal the blanket, duct tape that was around her mouth. They've got the blanket itself. So, they can run new testing against that.
And that's where I believe that genetic genealogy could come into play. So just like some of the cases that Morph and I are talking about on criminology, if they're able to get DNA from, let's say, the duct tape.
Right.
Or the blanket or something, they don't know who it belongs to, maybe they would get a hit using genetic genealogy and be able to work it down until they get to the killer's family. And then really that's where the police step in, right? The genetic genealogy usually can get you to this point and you're in the right neighborhood. And then the investigators will, carry the ball across the goal line, to use a sports cliche. But I think that's entirely possible.
Well, I think so too.
I don't think they would be able to use much from Lonnie's DNA, like we talked about earlier. But if they have DNA, which we don't know if they do or not, right? That's not something we're 100% sure on. But to that point, I don't think this case is unsolvable. And I don't know if any case is unsolvable, but we profile some that I think are harder to solve than others. There has been a lot of time that's gone by, but they've got some good evidence in this case. And they have some evidence that could possibly provide DNA at some point. Tammy's parents retired to Florida, but her dad passed away in May of 2015. This is really heartbreaking for me, Gibbs. He died not knowing who killed his daughter. So unbelievably horrible to have your daughter taken from you. But then it's almost like another horrible injustice, I guess, to go so many years still wondering every day who did it, and he died never knowing.
Never knowing.
It's tough.
Yeah, it'd be really tough. Heartbroken.
It's a tough case all around. It's a young girl that was loved by a lot of people. As far as I know, no one ever came forward and had a bad word to say about her. It was nothing but, glowing things.
Right.
She had a bright future ahead of her, and it was a senseless murder. It really was.
Senseless, yeah.
All right, Gibbs, we got some voicemails. You want to hear those?
Let's hear them.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Gibby. This is Nicole calling, and I am calling from Southfield, Michigan. Just wanted to call and say how much I love the podcast. I think you guys are awesome. I stumbled across you guys a couple weeks ago. I don't know how I didn't find you guys sooner, but I've been binge listening to TCAT and TCAT Unsolved. I am actually planning to move back home to Chicago next week, so it's been helping me while I've been packing and getting ready for my move. You guys have been keeping me entertained. I also just wanted to note that I had just listened to the Jacqueline DeWallaby case a couple days ago, and I'm actually from the town next to Midlothian, Illinois. The town is called Crestwood, and we're right next to Midlothian. We actually shared a zip code with them just up until last year, so it was really interesting to hear a case so close to home. So I thought that was awesome, and I learned a lot of interesting things from you guys. So keep up the good work, and keep your own time ticking. Bye.
I don't know, Nicole. Why did it take you so long to find us?
Should have found us sooner.
But we're glad you did.
We're really glad you did.
And we're glad you called in.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. My name's Trisha. I live in Washington State, and I love your show. I listen to it every day. Anytime I'm driving, I have it on. I listen to both, all the true crime all the time and Unsolved. And I have a couple suggestions for you guys. I just listened to the Tube Sock Killer case, and it made me think of, I think it's Mary Cooper and Susan Stodden. They were a mother and daughter that were hiking up in Granite Falls, Washington, and they were found shot to death. And it was 10 years ago. I think you touched on it a little bit during that episode, but I thought that would be a great case for you to research and cover because there's a lot of theories out there about what happened to them. And then I have another suggestion for True Crime All the Time. Teresa Knorr. She was a mother who killed two of her children and was really horribly abusive. Her case was featured on Cold Case Files on A&E several years ago. There's a lot of information out there on that case, and it's so tragic. And it really hit home for me because I grew up in Placer County, California, and that's where the crimes took place. So I would love to hear you guys cover that. But I just wanted to tell you that I love your show. I listen all the time. I love your banter. I think you guys are hilarious. So just keep doing what you're doing. Thanks. Bye.
All right. Great voicemail. We appreciate that. And we'll definitely look into those cases. Teresa Norris sounds very familiar.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that happens up in that
there is.
Great Northwest.
There is. Well, and I think Teresa, she was saying Teresa was in Placer County, California. The West Coast, man, there's a lot of, we talk about how much stuff happens here in Ohio, but we do a lot of cases in California and quite a few up in, like you said, in the Pacific Northwest.
We do.
Let's face it, there is just cases everywhere. It's sad to say.
It's true.
But you can look at any state and find as many cases as you want.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. I am Louise from the UK. I am from a little peninsula called the Wirral, which is right next to Liverpool. I have recently started listening to your podcast, True Crime All the Time, Unsolved, and I absolutely love it. It gets me through the day, through work, and I find everything really, really interesting. I was just listening to the... Hold on, my words have gone out of my head. I was just listening to the... I don't know how you say it. Hold on. The telecall? No? The one with the... I know exactly what it's called, but I can't get the words out of my head. The one with the medicine, and they put the cyanide into the medicine. We still have capsules like that in the UK, but they're not open in a bottle, so you can't get to them easily. They're just in a tablet in the little plastic thing with a silver foil over the top. I just thought it was really interesting that you don't get tablets like that at all anymore, and we still do. So yeah, I think they could still be quite easily tampered with here in the UK, but yeah, we still get them, and I found that really, really interesting. So just wanted to say hi from over here and thank you for everything that you do. I'm sure there's more people from around here that listen. So yeah, thank you. Keep your own time ticking.
Oh, that's a very good voicemail, and I very much appreciate it.
That was horrible, dude.
It was very bad.
It was very bad. I don't even...
It's terrible.
In no way was that even close to being English.
Nowhere close.
Anywhere over the pond. I don't even know where it was,
I
dude.
don't know where it's from either.
I'm not even sure it was of this world.
It most likely was not.
Now that sounds like...
I'm not sure.
A character on a movie. I'm trying to think.
It might be, but I'm appreciative of the voicemail.
It almost sounds like Indian.
I don't know.
Well, now it's morphing because that's what you do.
As soon as it does, I know it morphs.
It morphs from one thing. There for a while, I thought it almost sounded like it was like from India.
Yeah, but then I go back
or
to
Pakistan or something like that. But
you know, that's it's all right, man. It's all right. It's okay. We got what we got to do. You know,
it definitely wasn't from
what
the
it
UK.
is, eh?
But we do have a lot of listeners in the UK.
Yes, we do.
Hey guys, this is Marcy calling from Boulder, Colorado. I was actually just wondering if in your research about the Ed Kemper case, did you guys come across which books that he did on tape? Because I think it would be really interesting to maybe listen to one of those books and listen to him talk. So, yeah, just wondering. Love your podcast. Thanks.
All right, so TCAT reference there. And I actually didn't. I didn't find in the research anything about what books he did, but he must have done a ton of them.
I've done a few.
You've done a few too?
Books on tape?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You've narrated?
Audio, digital recordings?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just finding this out. I didn't know this about you.
Now, it's for kids.
Okay.
It's the non-picture books.
Non-picture books for kids.
Well, it's because it's audio.
How would you
That's what I'm saying.
So you're saying they're picture books?
Yeah, I just described the picture.
Okay.
Like, so page 1, I'm looking at
So
this
what team?
red dot.
What team does this pitcher play for?
Or
baseball
or
team?
Pitcher. or pitcher. Or picture.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
I know.
But no,
Thank you.
I don't have that information, but I'll be honest with you. If I could listen to an audiobook read by Ed Kemper, I would probably do it.
Would you listen to one read by Gibby?
I would not.
Really?
No.
Just think about how I could
I hear
read
you all the
Moby
time.
Dick. I could read it really well. It'd be intriguing.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. This is Kelly calling from Alabama. Just wanted to call and let you guys know I love this show. I look forward to hearing it every single week. I do have a question, though, and I feel kind of foolish asking this question because I feel like I should know, but I don't. What does the term keep your own time ticking mean, and where did that come from? Thanks, guys. Roll Tide and keep your own time ticking. Bye.
Well, I'll let you handle this one.
Yeah, so keep your own time ticking. Before I ever started the podcast, right before we started the podcast, Gibby, it actually came from my 2 daughters and my wife. I wanted something to say at the end of every episode as kind of a sign off. And I can't remember exactly. It was probably part of all 3 of them, but we were trying to figure out something to do with the time aspect of the name of the show. And that's where it came from. And I wish I could give credit, but I don't know who it was. It was either my wife or one of my 2 daughters that came up with it. And I liked it.
You did.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. This is Emily from Chicago, Illinois, and I was calling because I am currently in a corrections class, and being from Chicago, we took a field trip to the old Joliet prison, which just opened up for tours again. And while we were there, we learned about this case of Odette Allen, who was married to Edmund Allen, who was the warden in 1915 at Joliet prison, and she was found murdered in her suite because Warden's families lived at the prison at the time. And they called him a houseboy, but he was kind of like a chauffeur, servant. He was taking care of the family, but he was also a prisoner. His name was Joe Campbell. He was nicknamed Chicken Joe, and he had 3 days left on his sentence, but he was convicted for her murder and received the death penalty because of it, which I believe was then later transferred to life. And, they found Odette Allen with her head bashed in and her bedroom was burned. And it was just a super interesting case that I think that you guys should profile. I think it would be amazing to hear. It's a little weird. It's kind of blue. It's out there. It would be great for Unsolved. And if you get the chance, you should definitely go head up over here and check out the old Joliet prison. It's a really surreal and bizarre experience, but I am waiting for them to open up more tours so that I can go back. I hope you guys have a great one and keep your own time ticking.
So I think 2 things for me, Gibbs. Number 1, I would jump at the chance to take that tour.
Yeah. She can be our tour guide.
That would be fascinating.
Yeah.
Any old prisons that housed famous, infamous gangsters, killers. I would be all into that. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
And how could we not want to do a podcast on a guy named Chicken Joe?
Chicken Joe.
So we got to look into that. Put that on your unsolved list.
Okay, just did.
All right. All right. We appreciate the voicemails. That is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.